Hey, what's up guys? It's Archelon here, or Tyrion, depending on which one you want to use. I'm doing a quick video because I got asked specifically in the comment section about tweaking your settings to get the smoothest FPS in Final Fantasy, and the the comment actually, the user had, I believe, an AMD Radeon 6670. So I'm going to try to troubleshoot from that base up. So for this video I'm using DX11, the DX11 engine, and reason why I'm using that instead of the DX9, although the user has the DX9, there are only 3 or 4 major setting differences. I know it's a completely different engine, but DirectX 9, the difference between DirectX 9 and DirectX 11 is just how your system interacts with the interface, which then interacts with the game engine. So the settings, obviously they're expanded settings, but on the very basic level, the settings should only make so much of a difference depending on which engine you're using, obviously. So let's dive right in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is mess with the general tab. You can toggle between, standard desktop, standard laptop. Even if you're using a desktop, there's nothing wrong with using high laptop and standard laptop. It'll knock back the settings a little bit from the standard desktop between each point, but don't feel like you can't use the laptop setting if you're on a desktop and vice versa. So, that aside, let's dive right in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is use low detail models on objects. Now it's saying I'm getting 83, 89 FPS. I'm actually getting 100, but because I'm recording and voiceover and everything, it's taken away some frames. I want to say about 10 frames just doing that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but before I started the video I was actually above 100 frames. But for right now, take it as, let's just say it's saying 80 to 90 FPS is what I'm getting right now. So the moment I toggle use low detail models on distant objects, you should notice a difference in my game screen right in front of me. So once I toggle that on and hit apply, the FPS goes up to above 100. Now you're wondering what happened. Well, if you look in the distance, like around here where my mouse is, I know the lighting is pretty poor, but right here where my mouse is, a lot of the terrain is gone. So if I toggle that off, there you go, the terrain's back. So it's like a far clip. If you've ever played games like World of Warcraft, it's essentially your distance far clip. Another setting that you can mess with is the real-time reflections. On the DX9, this is not enabled at all. You cannot go up to maximum. The highest you can go up to is high. You can have standard and high. Maximum is only for DX11. If you set it to standard or high, you might gain like 1 or 2 frames, but it's really not worth it. You could set it to off and hit apply, and you see there I'm pretty much getting close to 100 frames. You could set it to standard. As long as it's turned on, you wouldn't notice much. Set it to high. There you go. Still around about the same FPS, but the moment you set it to maximum, which is again DX11 only, that's where you get that FPS drop. So first things first, use low detail models on distant objects. That'll help out a lot. Next thing, real-time reflections. Another thing you might want to try is Fxaa. If you're messing with Fxaa, know that it's supported better on Nvidia cards for this particular game. As far as I've seen, it's better supported on Nvidia. So if you have an AMD, I would suggest turning this off, then going into your Catalyst Control Center and toggling it on from your Catalyst Control Center. If it's on there, you shouldn't have to mess with it here, because here it gives it kind of like a grainier look. Alright, moving on. So Fxaa, on or off, see how your FPS gains from that, maximum, see how your FPS gains from that, and then use low detail models on distant objects. Alright, last thing on the list, all these you can kind of mess with. Parallax and Tessellation are kind of the same thing. As far as the game is concerned, they kind of do similar jobs. This will not be an option to you unless you're using DX11. If you're using DX9 like this user is, I'm hoping you're actually using DX9, you won't have to mess with these settings. In fact, these settings won't be there. So that's how you know you're using DX9, because you won't have the tessellation and or the parallax occlusion option in your settings window. So you can leave those on high, you can turn them off. They don't really make that much of a performance difference, but if you want to see what it does, parallax, it's better for me to step out into the open here. Okay, there we go. So if I could zoom in on the ground, it's really just something, it's just for fancy. It's just a fancier so parallax occlusion makes everything less 3D looking as far as the ground is concerned. You can't really see it here, but so you see the ground. When I turn on parallax, when I turn it to high, it's on. It's not that it's off. It's on. You'll be able to notice more of a 3D look. I don't know if you can see that. It's like everything pops forward a little bit, like the 3D, like nooks and crannies in the ground, that pops out. Not much of a difference. Tessellation is a similar thing, but this is on backdrops, on like the cliffside. You can't see it because I'm not that close, but again, just does the same thing, gives it more of a pop. Glare, the maximum is standard. Map resolution specifically deals with your mini-map. That's really all it does. I just leave it on high. I don't see why that should be causing any issues. If you set it to normal, can't talk, it kind of gets this blurred effect, especially if you're on anything higher than a 1080p resolution. So you're going to want to leave that on high, so it has that crisp, clean, sharp look and feel to it. So shadow quality, I specifically turn on use low detail models on shadows. It's the same as the render distance. So just for NPCs and models that are in the distance, it just uses a lower detail shadow on them. That's really all it does. Shadows also play a big role. So let's go back to seeing the entire zone from over here. So we're standing over here. We're at, I want to say, about 80 FPS. I don't know why it cut out there, but so looking this way, I'm getting about 80 to 90 FPS. If I hit the settings, set it to low, you notice it shoots up by about, I want to say, about 5 frames on average. Set it to set this resolution to low. Not much to be gained there. You know, depends on your system. Most systems can handle this regardless. For using the user in particular, for using the HD 6670, I believe, you might want to set that to normal. Most systems will be able to handle it regardless. What you're really going to want to mess with, however, is the cascading shadows. Set that to normal and weak, and go from there. Anisotropic filtering, it's just a way to handle angles at a distance. So, for example, my sword at a certain distance on someone else's screen will have a jagged edge to it. It's not the same as AA, it's not like a smoothing, it's just the way the system handles edges or diagonal shapes. Shapes in a diagonal direction. It's just the way it handles it. It's a bit complicated to explain. Usually means I don't understand it well enough, but from my understanding, it's just another way of filtering textures at a distance. So most systems now, most graphic cards now can handle well up to 16. You might want to try 8. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. As you can see, my frames stayed the exact same. 4 frames stayed the exact same. You know, went up by 1, but I don't think that's anything. Back up to 16. It's pretty much the same thing. So most systems can handle 16 times anisotropic filtering. What will make a difference is this screen ambient occlusion. Now I have it turned off here for the purpose of this video. Usually it's turned on, but I needed you to see what the game looks like without it on, so then you can decide if you want to have it on or off. And you should have this option as well on DX9. On DX11 you can go up to HBAO quality, HBAO standard. I usually leave mine on standard. The performance hit between quality and standard isn't really that much of a thing, and stuff is selling, so I apologize. But These two settings, there isn't that much of a difference, but I leave mine on standard because there's certain places where the quality just feels a bit too dark. You should have strong and light on your DX9 settings. So if you set it to light, you should immediately notice a performance hit. You know, set it to strong, same thing. It'll drop by 2 to 5 frames. Set it to HBO standard, that's a different issue entirely. Now this is where Nvidia takes the cake as far as the performance goes. It will run significantly smoother on an Nvidia card than an AMD because it's set to, it's an actual like Nvidia GameWorks setting, but it is available to you even if you're on an AMD card. I wouldn't, you know, tamper with it. I'd leave it on either standard, light, or off, depending on what you want. But did you notice much of a difference when I turned it on? So let's try it off. And now let's turn it back on. It just made the shadows darker. That's really all it does, but I mean, you're losing almost 10 frames, because if I have it turned off, I'm at 87, 88. If I have it turned on, you know, I'm dipping down to the 80s. There you go. So for 10 frames for darker shadows, not really worth it. So I definitely turn that off. Especially if you're having an issue running the game smoothly. Personally, doesn't impact the gameplay so much to warrant, you know, dipping below 60 FPS. So I'd leave it off. Another thing you can do, these movement physics, you can have them set to simple for other players, enemies, and, you know, you can do that here. Another thing you could do is if you hit K or bring up your character configuration screen and go to character, scroll all the way down and you should see where it's set to battle effect settings, especially if you're running like a dungeon or you're in a raid or you're just surrounded by a lot of players. Set this to show limited battle effects for others except PvP. This will help your frames, especially in like crowded areas where people are using skills, or if you're in a fight or something like that. It'll really help out. I've had mine set like that for as long as I can remember. I'm probably safe to leave it on show all, but I just have it there for the purposes of the video, so you know where it is and what to set it to. All right. Last but not least, I believe I was gonna touch on, yes, shadows. So these, you kind of have to like test the waters with these. I love my shadows. As you can see, everything's pretty much set to high, best, and all that stuff. If you can afford the FPS hit, go for it. However, if you're having issues keeping 60 FPS, mess with shadows. Usually in MMOs, shadows are your biggest concern. It's not like a single player game where the shadows are constant, where you load up a map and those shadows will always be there. And then depending on, like, you can have little tricks, like depending on the time of day, the shadows will move and real-time shadows and all that stuff. But in MMOs, it's a little different because you have players, you have characters moving around, you have fates popping randomly. Anything could randomly generate a shadow, so it's continuously processing these in real time. It can be a bit of a hassle trying to do that, and then, you know, your character and all that stuff as well. So mess with these. Find out what settings work best for you, and yeah, but for now, I'm going to show you what settings I feel you should use, especially if you're using the HD 6670 or anywhere in that range type of card. These are the settings I think will help you the most. So first things first, use low detail models on distant objects, real-time reflections to standard, Fxaa, leave it on, grass quality, normal, parallax, normal, and this normal. You won't have these on if you're using DX9. Glare, set it off. You don't need that. At least it's glare on your weapons, right? So you could make it look shiny, but you don't necessarily need it, especially if you're having problems just getting up to 60. So set all that. Set this to normal. Set this to normal. So all shadows, set it to normal, and then the cascading to normal and softening to weak. Anisotropic, leave it at 16. You can probably handle it. It's not going to be that much of a hit. Set your screen space ambient occlusion to light or strong, and hit apply. So I've done all those changes, and again, I should be getting 10 frames more, but I'm recording, right? So we did all those changes, and now we're standing back where we were, and we're getting 144 FPS. Translate this back onto DX9, you should be getting 180, if not more. Okay? So these settings, again, they're not the lowest setting, but they give you enough of a picture of the game. It's not ruined, you know, it still looks good. And you know, you should be getting, I want to say you should be getting above 60 at this point. If you're not getting above 60, tamper with the movement physics. Tamper with, again, the character, go to character, under character configuration, and mess with the battle effect settings. Mess with your shadows. Those are usually what make a big difference. And that generally does it. If you're still not getting 60, disable wet surfaces and disable rendering of objects when not visible. So occlusion calling. So leave that on. So at this point, if you're getting 60, good. If you're not getting 60, maybe it might be time to like look at other things like your processor. Do you have any background applications running? Is there anything that is bottlenecking your graphics processor? Do you have like a game on the side, or you know, do you have like an add-on that's constantly running? Are you playing in windowed mode? And that's another thing. I found out on Windows 10, if I try running the game in windowed mode, I am capped at 44 to 50 frames, regardless of what settings I'm using. Not really sure why. I'm sure there's going to be a fix at some point, but that's just the issue I have personally with Windows 10 on my system. Windows 7 I don't think has that. So if you're having a consistently low FPS even after these changes, try messing with your settings. So go back here, change between borderless windowed and full screen, see what works best for you. Okay, so that pretty much does it. Again, at this point you should be at 60 FPS. If you're not at 60 FPS, I would strongly encourage looking into background processes, seeing what's running and seeing what's using up RAM, or if RAM is an issue, VRAM shouldn't be an issue, but if it is, find out what's eating up that, and just close all those applications before you run the game. Alright. Now we have 60 FPS. We can start doing the more interesting part where you can toggle with things. So now you're above 60, and now you want to see just how much you can turn on while staying at 60. So the first thing you want to try is turn on glare. Turn glare back on. Hit apply. Okay. Lost maybe 2 to 3 frames. Are you still above 60? Comfortably above 60. Next big thing, especially if you want the game to look good, I know it might be tempting to disable the low detail models. Leave those on, especially if you want the game to look good, right? Leave those on. Just go down to the shadows, cascading shadows, set it to best, set that to strong. You've lost like another, 2 to 3 frames, right? Set that to high, set the resolution to high. Now take a step back. Look at the game. Is it still looking okay? Are you still above 60? Can you proceed? Is it too much? Have you dipped below 60? Roll back some settings. These are just the beefiest settings that I feel make a good ratio between quality and performance, right? If you're still comfortably above 60, now we can go turn off that low detail models of distant objects. Turning this off will have the biggest hit to your performance, and I don't personally feel like it's worth it if you're having issues. I lost about almost 20 frames there just turning that off. So if you're still above 60, you're good. The game will look solid going forward with everything else set to normal. Now you can toggle these, set them all to high if you want, and just have a blast. If you're still having problems, let me know in the comment section below, or shoot me a personal in-game mail if you know Tyrion on Brynhildr. If not, again, comment section, or I think you can email me on YouTube, so try that as well. So all these changes should hopefully get you sitting comfortably at above 60 FPS. If you're still not there, like I said, let me know and I'll try to troubleshoot and find an answer. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you like this video. It's kind of been all over the place. I haven't done one of these in a while. But yeah, let me know if you like it. Let me know if you want more videos. If you have any other questions, hit me up in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you. If you like the video, give it a thumbs. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.